My name's William Kaliba. I'm a 39-year survivor of HIV. What I'm here to talk about is my partner, Robert Reynolds, of 30 years. Passed away 6 weeks ago. Bob was a 35-year advocate for HIV. He started off as a negative man. He's a 20-year survivor of HIV. Bob was a good man. Bob helped many people. He mentored all kinds of people. Bob was a go-to guy for everybody. If somebody wanted to know facts, they called Bob. If somebody wanted to know the truth of what was going on, they called Bob. If somebody had a hard time dealing with situations, they called Bob. Bob was a good man. He was loved by many, cared for by many, and I don't think he had an enemy in the world. I can't say he didn't piss people off because he was a big advocate, and he did, because he got to the facts. I'm going to miss him dearly. And all I gotta say is tomorrow when I put him in the ocean, I hope his journey in the ocean goes far and wide. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Butch McKay, and I just wanted to say a word about a very special person, Bob Reynolds. Bob Reynolds, the thing that impressed me most about him as an advocate was you could trust what he said. There are so many people that will hear something or read something on the internet and take it as fact and run with it. But he did not do that. He researched everything. Before he would put his name behind something, he would research it to make sure it was fact. And so anything that Bob told you or asked you to advocate for, you knew he had done his homework and that he was telling you the truth. You could always trust him. He was a trusted advocate. He was a long-term advocate. He was one of the very first advocates I had ever met him at AIDS Watch years and years ago, I think maybe 1992. And ever since then, it was, we were together on lots of occasions. We served on a lot of the same committees, and his death hit me very hard. And to his partner, Billy, thank you for being such a loving partner and taking care of him when he needed you the most. He had been there for you all those years in your rough times, but he was rewarded by you returning that when he needed you the most. So thank you, and we miss you, Bob.
Hi, I'm Jeff King. I work with the Florida Department of Health Community Programs, Ryan White program in Tallahassee. But in 2006, I was a newly diagnosed person living with HIV, and I met Jeff Allen. My friend Jeff Allen was a ready friend, mentor, and person who was there right at the right time in my life. Jeff, I miss you terribly. We were part of so many things in Daytona Beach. You got me to volunteer. You taught me how to live gracefully and help others. You passed that mentorship along, and today I still think back to those first few days when you taught me the meaning of advocacy, caring, passion, and doing this job, doing this type of job. And what a great honor it was to have worked with you. And Godspeed, I miss you. Bye, Jeff Allen.
Kind, persistent, loving, sharing, giving, and fun as hell. That was Jeff Allen. I met Jeff about maybe 8-9 years ago at a conference, and it was like I was reunited with an old friend. We sat and talked for hours while people sang bad karaoke over drinks, and we laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. Then the next day we were up bright and early at 7:30 in the morning, ready to do battle as advocates. That's what I loved about him. He would fight like hell when it came to advocacy, but he would also party like hell when the downtime came. It's just hard to believe that Jeff is not here, but he is here for each and every one of us who fight and speak for those people who can't speak for themselves. Every time I speak up and speak out, Jeff is a part of me. I definitely miss him, but he's still here with us with every new voice that we hear.
I want to talk about my dear friend Jeff Allen, who was my lifesaver, who was my person who brought me into the life of advocacy and activism. He became my mentor, my teacher, and my godsend. He gave me purpose in life. He was an amazing person that gave of himself, would give his shirt off his back, and literally died helping others, because that was the way Jeff was. And not having him around anymore is just unfathomable, because he was always there for you, him, her, them, and anybody who was, whether they were homeless, they had HIV and AIDS, NAAA. He didn't discriminate. He loved everybody and he helped everybody. And he's the type of person that we need to emulate and we need to follow in his footsteps, because with him, he made it a better world to live in. And we need to do our share to make sure that this world is a much better place to live in, because there's enough evil out there, especially what's going on right now in our government. And Jeff, I know you're watching over us. Love you, buddy, and miss you a lot.
It is impossible to talk about Jeff Allen in a minute and a half, how amazing he was and the things that he did for us in our community. When I moved to Florida 18 years ago, Jeff was one of the first people I met in advocacy, and it was a pleasure to learn from him and grow with him in our advocating. He was so passionate about our community, the HIV community, and educating, and I mean, he just didn't stop. I don't know where he got his energy. And you know, recently, the last couple of years, Jeff's been going through stuff and I've been going through stuff, and no matter what he was going through, I would get a message from him every morning. And the last message I had from him was the day before he died, and the last things we said to each other was, "I love you." And to me, there's no greater gift than to have those be the last words you say to someone or they say to you before they die. It was a horrible tragedy, and I miss him so much personally. Professionally, the community is just such a huge loss for our community, but Jeff Allen was amazing, and thank you for this project, Billy.
What do you say about Mark Curtis Jones? I have known Mark for more than 20 years, and I tell people all the time, Mark is the one person I can honestly say lived his life on his own terms, always. And it didn't matter who was in the room, who was at the table, or who may be going to hear what he had to say. And that was a lesson I learned from Mark really early on in my days of activism. I used to want to wring his neck completely, like seriously wring his neck at Florida Community Planning Group meetings, all kinds of stuff. He'd always sit by me and I would be like, oh God. But in that, oh God, I learned so much for him. And I can honestly say I have a list of probably 25 people that I think would lay down on train track for me, and Mark was at the top of that list. And every morning I woke up, every single morning for the last 4 or 5 years, with an inbox message from Mark. At the same time, I celebrate the fact that Mark lived life on his own terms, and he lived every moment that he was on this planet. So you'll be missed, baby.
Hi, I wanted to say something about a very close friend, Mark Curtis Jones. When I first came to Panama City back in the early 90s, Mark was the very first client I enrolled when I was a case manager. And we had a connection from day one, and we shared so much of his life, his story. He was on my speakers bureau. He did so much for the community, and he's famous for his rocks that he painted and sold for benefits for my agency. He worked for us. The first thing, Mark over the years gave me many gifts. And one of the first things he gave me was when the postage stamp came out with the AIDS ribbon on it. He gave me that and on a postcard on the back it said, future generations will turn to you and ask, what did you do to help end the AIDS epidemic? Thank you for having an answer. Thank you, Mark, for giving me hope, for giving me courage, for making me a better man and a better advocate. You're missed, my buddy, and I love you so much. You're in my heart. Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to make a comment about Will Herndon from Jacksonville. He was involved with the Teddy Bear Project with Dad and several other events in Jacksonville. He had been to Positive Living several times. He was one of those people that when you met him, he had an infectious smile also, and he was somebody that you connect with. He was open. His story was out there. He was proud of who he was. There was no shame in his game, and he was willing to share that with everybody he came in contact with, and he will be missed.
Jacksonville has lost a wonderful person, someone that cared, was persistent, always taking care of the community. He put a great deal of his effort into the Red Tie Affair that helped raise money for children and have a Christmas party as part of Dab's project. He was very persistent always. Another thing I remember about him, that he cared for his community of Springfield. He was very active there. And just a great person all around. So if we talk about HIV, that's one dimension. That's one dimension for him. But the other dimension is a great all-around person.
What can I say about William Herndon? William is one of those people that you want on your team. He's one of those individuals that's gonna go the extra mile with you. He's gonna stand beside you when you want him to, and he's gonna cry with you when you need him to. William and I worked on fundraising for the Red Tie Affair for the past 8 years, raising money for our Christmas party called the Teddy Bear Touchdown. William's ability to go out and fundraise and speak to people was just effortless. He did it with a genuine heart and really let people know how he felt about him. I will truly miss him, especially as Red Tie Affair comes around. Not having someone that I can spar back and forth with because he's always fashionably late. I'm really gonna miss him, so if you got a chance to meet Will Herndon, you met a great person, a friend, an advocate, and just an all-around good guy.